Put together this video just to highlight the importance of mobility training in sport. So here we have myself performing a hip mobility drill where I'm taking my hips through a range of internal and external hip rotation. Now if we pay attention to my left leg, as I go to internally rotate the left hip, we can see that the space between my left knee and the floor is greater in comparison to the right leg. Now there may be a number of reasons why this is occurring. Okay, so it could be a matter of the hips or the glutes and the deeper external hip rotators just being a little bit tight, and it could be a matter of we just need to release a little bit of tension to allow the hips to move more freely. However, and I discussed this a few weeks ago, that if there's a lot of tension in the glutes could be taking on the functional role of weaker muscles in and around it. So I'm thinking of the hamstrings, I'm thinking of the lower back. Now, I haven't done any capacity or strength related assessments to determine strength in the hamstrings or lower back. However, I know I have come off the back of a heavy week of cycling. So I know it's for myself, it's just a matter of releasing a little bit of tension in the glutes to try and free up that range of motion and to allow me to get into better internal hip rotation. So I applied some SMR technique, some assisted stretching for 45 minutes. And again, let's just see if this has improved my hip mobility in my left leg. So again, just using a lacrosse ball and it's like a dog toy, just to try and release a little bit of tension in the groups along with some assisted stretching. And I just finished it off with just rolling out the glutes. So again, if we pay attention, so this is the second assessment. So again, if we pay attention to the left leg, as I go to internally rotate the left hip, we can see now that the knee is a little bit closer to the floor. When we compare this to the before assessment, which is on the left hand side of your screen, and we can see that there is a slight improvement there. And to be honest, it actually felt as if the joint was a little bit more free. Now, why is this important for athletes who play sports? So to answer that question, I'm going to use this caption of this girl playing volleyball. So if you pay attention to her left leg, we can see that her left leg, we can see that there's internal hip rotation going on. Now, if that athlete had a physical constraint whereby she had a lot of stiffness, relative stiffness in the external hip rotators or the glute muscles, she would not freely be able to internally rotate her hip to get into this position. However, a competitive athlete will still try to get into this position, and if she hasn't got good range of motion, she puts herself at higher risk of getting injured. She would the high risk of damaging, the connective tissue in and around the hip, but not just the hip. The injury could occur further on down the chain in the knees, or further on down again towards the ankle. Now, something else can happen as well. Okay, so if that athlete knows they haven't got good range of motion in the hip, well, they may start then to change their motor patterns. And what I mean by that is that rather than getting into this position where she is really low, where there's internal rotation going on in the hip, she might decide to maybe like go down onto both knees. It's almost like like sliding onto the knees to make the shot. So she's changed her motor patterns or how she's moved to allow herself to get into position to play the ball or play the pass. She might stay on both feet, stay on the soles of both of her feet, and in that case, her hips may be higher off the ground, and she may rely on more like spinal flexion. Or, and this to me, this is probably the worst one, especially if performance is a goal. She may not play the shot at all. She may just think, that's far too low for me. I can't get down there. I'm going to just sacrifice the point. And again, she may not play the shot. So these are a number of reasons why I feel athletes should spend more time on mobility drills, okay, and try to value mobility drills just as you would with your strength training and your conditioning training, because if you get injured, you're not going to be doing strength or conditioning, you're not going to be playing any training. So you can spend time in your warm up doing mobility drills. You can do mobility drills as fillers in between strength sessions. If you're on the side of the court waiting to come on, you can be doing mobility drills again as part of a warm up. So spend a little more time doing them, and I promise, there will be a little marginal improvement in your performance, and it will afford you to do more things when it comes to game time.